Hello, my name is Sonia and this is video number 2 in the basics of crochet, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about hooks. The first video I went over the 4 basic things you would need to get started if you wanted to crochet, which would be a crochet hook in either size G, H, or I, worsted weight yarn in a light color, in a solid color, or also number 4 on the package, a yarn needle or a tapestry needle. They're called the same thing, or they are the same thing, and a pair of scissors or some kind of cutting tool. But we're going to talk about hooks, and as you can see I have a crochet hook right here, and as you can see there, it's called a crochet hook because it has a little hook on the end. And just to clear something up before we get started, these guys here, not crochet hooks. These are knitting needles. And for most of you, you'd be like, why in the world is she showing me knitting needles? Of course they're knitting needles, but actually some people do confuse the two crafts. They'll see somebody crocheting and think they're knitting. They'll see someone knitting and think they're crocheting. So just to clear it up, these are knitting needles. They're different than a crochet hook. For one thing, when you're crocheting, you just need one hook. When you're knitting, you need at least 2 needles, sometimes even more than 2. And knitting needles have points on the end, and the crochet hook, has a hook. So just wanted to throw that out there. And when you are in a store looking for crochet hooks, it might be a little confusing because there are a lot of different sizes, as I'm showing right here. So you might get a little overwhelmed as to what to even buy to get started. And also crochet hooks can come in different materials. Like this is a very small crochet hook. You can barely even see the hook on the end, but it is a crochet hook. These are often used for making lace, so certainly I wouldn't recommend this size hook when you're getting started because stitches would be way too small. You would need to use very fine yarn, and that could be really frustrating, especially when you're starting out. But certainly as you get more experience and want to venture into lace, I definitely, would recommend giving it a try. And this one, is like a traditional looking crochet hook. It's metal, has a straight handle on here. This one is made out of plastic and metal. Some people like this kind because of the, it's a little easier on the hands. They're not my favorite. I prefer these guys, the traditional ones, the metal ones. These are my favorite, but everybody's different, so you might like these better, especially if you have some wrist issues. This crochet hook is made out of plastic. Some are made out of wood. It really doesn't matter what your hook is made out of. Find something that feels comfortable for you. What does matter is the size, again, when you're starting out. So I certainly, wouldn't want to recommend a size like this because your stitches are going to be a lot looser and larger, and it's going to be hard to see exactly what you're doing. So as I said in the first video, you're going to want to stick with 3 sizes to get started, which would be the G, the H, or the I. So if you're in the store, a lot of times, the hooks might be stamped like these are with the sizes right on here. Like this has a size G hook, and the G is usually a US sizing. A lot of times if you're reading a pattern that's a US written pattern, when they give the size hook you would need, it would just say G. Other patterns from other countries, I think the number 6 here might be a UK or a pattern written in, from Canada. I'm not exactly sure. Generally, most patterns that I've seen have either the letter or in millimeters, which is right here. 4.25 millimeter, and G can also be in 4 millimeters. So you might see a G hook that says 4 millimeter. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not going to really make a big difference. So this one is the H, and again, it's stamped. And not all hooks are stamped, so you want to, if some come in packages, you want to look on the package to make sure you're getting the size that you want. And this one is a number 8, and it's a 5 millimeter. H hooks are generally 5 millimeters. I don't think I've ever seen an H hook that's not 5 millimeters. There could be some out there. but generally, you know, they're 5 millimeters on there. And then we have the I hook, another size that I recommend to get started. I, and then also has the number 9, and this one's a 5.5 millimeter hook. So a lot of times I think patterns are gearing more towards the millimeter sizes and not showing the letter sizes as much. So for myself, I tend to look at the millimeters myself when I'm, you know, looking to see what hook I would need. But I just wanted to share what, you know, the different letters, numbers are, because it can get confusing, especially if you've never done it before. So just to recap, you know, when you're shopping for hooks, don't worry about what it's made out of. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to get, some hooks are very flimsy, like a plastic one, you know, you don't want it to be bending, you want it to be sturdy, because that would be really difficult to, you know, maneuver if your hook is bending. But, you know, some people might say, oh, you have to get a bamboo hook, or you have to get, no, just, you know, try out different ones and see what works best for you. For myself, I love the metal ones, but I know some people hate them, so you know, we're all unique and we're all different, so don't worry about it. But to get started, you know, if you're not sure if you're going to like it, you know, don't invest in, you know, this gorgeous handmade set of crochet hooks, you know, which people make them and they're beautiful, but then if you decide, wow, this craft is not for me and I just blew all this money, you know, I wouldn't recommend doing that. So I would just certainly recommend getting an inexpensive hook. You can often find hooks in consignment shops, thrift shops. I found a lot of hooks in thrift shops, you know, for a couple cents. So I would definitely recommend looking there to, you know, start your hook collection. So that is about hooks, and I appreciate you watching.